What's up and welcome back to the shop. A few episodes ago we replaced a check valve for the tank on our Husky Air compressor. A few weeks later, here we are today, and the compressor has crapped out again. So we're going to diagnose what the problem is, get a replacement part, and hopefully fix the issue. Alright guys, if you remember last episode we replaced the in-tank check valve here. That fix has been flawless, there's no issues there. It's holding pressure when it does pump up. The issue we have now is electrically. Power is coming into what the pressure switch here, the contactor. When the tank gets low, this senses it and closes the contacts, and it sends power coming has power coming in from the breaker panel and out to the motor. Right now, the electric motor is not getting power. So we can trace that issue back to either here or the breaker panel. I've already checked the breaker panel. It does have power coming out. We've got power coming into the contactor, but not going out. This is your on-off auto switch right here. This with the cover on. This will be in the off position. And then you would click it to auto. And once the tank pressure gets below about 100 psi, these contacts will close, and you can see these contacts actuating right there. That's one line coming in, and that one appears to be in okay shape. The issue is on the other side. And I'll show you once we get this thing out what the actual problem is, but we've traced the issue back to the relay's getting power, but it's not sending it out. So we can confidently say that the contactor is at fault. So we're going to pull that off, show you what's wrong with it, and show you how to put a new one on. As with anything electrical, before you get started, you want to make sure that you don't have power on the device you're working on. So we're just going to kick this to alternating volt on our meter here and make sure we do have power. So we need to go to the breaker panel and shut that off. And that's why you always check. I thought I'd already turned it off earlier. Apparently not. Alright, I've kicked off all the 240 volt breakers in the panel. We're going to check this. I don't have any of them labeled, so I just kicked them all off. We definitely don't have power coming to the unit anymore. So we're going to undo the line in. And the line out. The ones on the top of the contactor come from your input voltage and go up here, and then you have the load going out to the motor, this electric motor here. So we're just going to undo all of these. Then we'll have a ground to the motor as well, either a 1/4 inch nut runner or a flat blade. And you undo this screw as well. Alright, electrically we're all unhooked, and now we got to get this thing pneumatically disconnected. So we've got this from our check valve assembly going to the blow off, and then we have our safety valve. The tank would overpressure, this thing would pop if it gets above, I believe it's 175 psi, that'll pop, and then we have our gauge on the other side. So we basically need to empty the tank. Alright, after you get all the air emptied out of the tank, there's no more air trapped. We need to disconnect this tube that goes to our check valve that we replaced a few weeks ago. It works just like a quick disconnect coupler on an air hose. So you have this little metal ring right here, and all we're going to try to do is just push that in Push in just a little bit, and this thing comes sliding out. Clean that guy out. And then I'm going to go ahead and take off the safety valve and the gauge. We're going to reuse both those parts on the new contactor. I'm hoping this will come off without twisting the tube, and it does. Cool. One, 2, 3, 4. If this tube starts twisting on you, you might just have to get a small pipe wrench or a pair of pliers or vice grips or channel locks or something and just grip onto this as you're turning this off. So we got the old one removed, and we go here to the table and show you guys kind of what's going on with it. So this is our contactor. If you get a universal contactor, sometimes these will be labeled line and load. This one's labeled line and motor. So we have our input voltage here that comes into these two terminals, and then our motor voltage out here. And what happens is this little spring, as the tank decreases in pressure, it senses that it needs to turn the motor on. That's what it's designed to do. This will be an auto, and it is. And so if you can see those little contact points right there, so this will be like if the tank had filled up with pressure and didn't need to run the motor anymore. We've got stored pressure in the tank and the air compressor is usable. That will be how the contactors look. And then once the tank decreases in pressure, that's how they would send electrical power to the motor, turn the compressor back on, and that's what's happening every single time the compressor's turning on and turning off. This side doesn't look that bad. It looks a little worn. Contactors might be a little burnt, but on the other side, this side over here, you can tell is clearly burnt up. So that's kind of what it'll look like when the contactor fails. You may or may not be able to see that burnt section in your contactor. And what we're looking at is this little ball of molten metal to where the two have arced to the point of failure. So even with this closed, it doesn't have enough material there. The input voltage from here and send it out this line to the motor voltage. So that's what caused this one to fail. And ordered a brand new one. So this is our new contactor that we're going to be putting on, and it's exactly the same as the old one. What you want to look for when you're replacing these is the manufacturer, and then this one's the MDR 11/11EA. This one's about $45. There is a cheaper one that's just an MDR 11/11. It doesn't have the EA at the end. I don't know the differences between the two, and I didn't have the time to spend to look it up. So I could have saved $20 on this, but this is the exact part that it's replacing. So it looks like they went with that's been missing on this one the entire time. Interesting. So here's the wire clamp that comes in from the input voltage to secure the wire from rattling around and arcing. It appears that this one fell off a long time ago. As you can see, it's missing right here. So another good reason why we're replacing it. They look like they do have different part numbers up here. E107200 and looks like E105531. So these appear to be different part numbers, but the actual inner workings of them are the same. And as you can see, these contactors look way more gooder. All right, let's get it installed. I like to take a red 3M Scotch Brite pad and just kind of clean up the threads from the old garbage and everything that's on there. And I'm just using gray Teflon tape over here on the threads. You can use Teflon paste or any other kind of thread sealant that you prefer, but I don't like cleaning up the goop. So use whatever you want as long as it seals. So this is how it's going to be when it's installed. So we need to get the back in this way. So there's at least one, and then we're going to tighten it up with a wrench from here on out. We're going to try to match the amount of turns that it came off with. Just depending on how tight it gets. So that's two. We're gonna try to go one more. All right. That should be good. Same thing here with the safety. Max pressure safety blow off. We're just going to use Teflon tape. It comes with the red sealant, but I don't particularly like that stuff. And I just put two layers on. Doesn't need any more than that. Get that started. The same thing with the gauge. And that's all it needs. Now we're going to hook up the electrical power back up to it. Oh, this little tube right here as well. And all you do is just push this guy in until you can't get it any deeper, and then it's locked. Moment of truth. No leaks. All right, guys. Well, that's another wrap. Hope you enjoyed this. It would have been real easy for me to get upset having just fixed it a few weeks ago and just say, you know what, this thing's tearing up every other week or every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's time to get a new one and go out and buy another $800 compressor instead of diving into what's causing the issue, which in this case just happened to be a $50 part. Even if I would have replaced this safety cutoff valve and the gauge, I might have had another 20-25 bucks in it. But between the check valve and this part, still less than $75, which is a whole lot cheaper than a brand new air compressor. So now there's not much else that can go wrong with it except for the motor or the pump. And let's hope that that doesn't happen a week or 2 or 3 weeks from now. So anyway, if you like this video, click a thumbs up, enjoy, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.